Alrighty then, we are live, and as of right now, the New York Yankees, their pitching addition is Marcus Stroman, right? Like from our understanding from the reports, this is gonna be their guy. I'm not saying this to say that the Yankees aren't gonna make any additions, but I think that this is it from a starting pitching perspective. Right now, Aiden, raw thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. Like, just first thing that comes to your mind. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've been very vocal over the past couple of days that I hate the idea of Marcus Stroman in pinstripes, and it's not even because his off the field stuff. It's not because of what he's said about the Yankees and Yankees fans in the past, about his bad mouthing. It's not about him burning bridges around the league. I just don't think he really fits to this team well at all. Like, okay, I love that he has great ground ball rates. I love that his barrel rate was great last year. I do love that he throws a cutter, he throws a sinker. I hope the Yankees see something in that and they see something they want to get out of that. But Ryan, I tweeted the other day. I put it on the Fireside Yankees account. I made a video about it today. He was a 2-half pitcher last year. In the first half of last year, he was great. He had a 2.39 ERA in his first 13 starts, 55 ERA minus. His barrel rates were still, pretty good, a 3.8 barrel rate. His K rates are not where you want it to be. The one silver lining there is that, his barrel rates, of course, and his ground ball rate has always been great. But, if you go to his second half of last year, he put up a 6.09 ERA, 141 ERA minus. The silver lining there in those 12 starts is that his FIP minus was still good. His fielding independent pitching was still good at 3.74. But I don't I like this move as if he's the fourth or fifth starter. But if that's the Yankees' answer to we need to add another quality pitcher, a 2 or a 3 to our rotation, this is not it. Because I don't know if I'm the lone wolf here, but Michael King had 2-3 starter potential, I think. I think that was his ceiling, and I think the Yankees were getting to that ceiling. And that's why when they traded him away, they wanted to go out and sign Yamamoto. So I don't want to sound like that spoiled Yankees fan. Like, okay, Marcus Stroman, he's not a bad pitcher. I do think he's on the decline. I think he's going to regress unless Matt Blake really sees something in him. But otherwise, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that we thought we were slotted in to get Yamamoto, a top 10, maybe top 5 pitcher in the world. And now we end up with Marcus Stroman, a guy who Yankees fans do not like, and a guy who just doesn't seem like the answer to the Yankees rotation problem. So those are my raw thoughts as of now, Ryan. I'd like to get your spin on this. What's the good here? Like, I'm really trying to talk myself into this.
It's funny because it's like it almost hilarious. Like the Yamamoto to Stroman thing kind of parallels going from thinking you're going to get a guy like Carlos Correa or Corey Seager to ending up with Josh Donaldson, right? Like that feels like that's the same kind of vibe, right? And I'm saying
it's almost
right.
It's almost like right before the Yankees traded for Soto, and when they traded to Verdugo, there was that 5 minutes where we thought, oh my God, they're not getting Soto. They're just ending up with Verdugo. And that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
But
sorry. It's unbelievable. Like I actually can't it's true. Like this is a guy that it's incredible the Yankees acquired both Alex Verdugo and Marcus Stroman in the same offseason. Like to me, that's incredible. Like Brian Cashman is a grade A troll. Like I gotta give him that. I gotta give Brian Cashman his props, like a troll. Like if he's a troll, the guy basically acquired a pitcher who publicly ripped him. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
And ultimately, the one thing I'll say though, look, I have been very vocal. I have not been shy about talking about his off-field stuff, and that's still a concern to me. But talking about him strictly as a pitcher, 3.95 ERA last year. As you mentioned, he broke down the second half, had some injury stuff, little concerning there. But I will say this. He's a ground ball pitcher. He kind of has a lot of the things that the Yankees like. If you look at his stuff plus numbers, his best pitches are his cutter, his slurve, which, look, the Yankees don't really have a guy with a slurve, but it's that same concept of like a guy with a breaking ball, a lot of horizontal movements. Think of like a sweeper or even Loizaga's curveball. He has a cutter, which is a pretty good pitch. I wonder, one of the big things I wonder is how the Yankees try to get his secondaries more involved, because I think that he has a lot of like tertiary pitches that he throws in there that might be better for swings and misses than some of the other pitches he has in his arsenal. I'm not saying that he shouldn't throw his sinker much. He's a ground ball pitcher. That's what he does. But more so to say, like, I would like to see his four-seam fastball utilized more as a weapon upstairs. I would like to see his slider get a little more run. I would like to see his slurve usage go up a little bit. I would like to see the cutter, be used more than just 9.5% of the time, because I think these are above average pitches. But ultimately, he has the skill set that Matt Blake likes. I think that the Yankees wouldn't have targeted him if they didn't think he was very good. And they don't have to make a long-term starting pitching commitment, which I'm not saying that I was against Snell or against Montgomery, but I think that the Yankees read the tea leaves of these are two guys that are just the price tag for those two just aren't where the Yankees, I think, wanted them to be. And again, like Stroman is just a guy who has he's an above average pitcher. Like he's an above average pitcher. You got an above average pitcher for about the money that Lucas Giolito got. The guy, like, it's just crazy because the guy hates or has hated the Yankees. Like, it's so weird, dude. It is. And he was like posting about it. It's so weird. It's weird, man. Like, this is a weird situation. But I would say this, there is that upside of like, hey, what if this actually goes well for the Yankees and they have like a fiery, like animated Yankee team that's kind of fun to watch? I don't know, but man, I have no idea what they're gonna do after this.
We have said, Ryan, the Yankees need that bad boy villain energy, and they need that fire, and I think he brings that. But some of the off the field stuff is kind of the wrong bad boy villain energy. Some of it's right, a good bit of it is wrong and very wrong in my opinion. But that's all I'll say on that topic. But this could very well work out. I think it very well could. Like if Marcus Stroman gives you a sub-4 ERA next year, I think that's a win. Like that's a solid rotation. I want to see where the Yankees, their rotation projections are at now, because I believe they were like projected to be 11th in FWAR. I wonder if that goes up at least a little bit. He's projected 2.6 WAR next year. Fangraphs projects a 4.11 ERA and a 4.15 FIP. Pretty low K rate at 19.3. But this is a weird signing. This really came out of nowhere because what was it? Sunday or Monday? Nightingale was like, "Oh, he wants to be a Yankee," but they're not making him an offer, and we were making jokes like, "Oh, the Yankees don't even want him," and well, here we are. But I think that's it, Ryan. I don't think they're going to be adding anything else, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, so now the Yankees climb into the top 10 in projected WAR for rotation, which is interesting.
Okay.
They are a weirdly constructed roster. Like they are, like their pitching is probably like they're actually projected for the same ERA as like the Dodgers in terms of run prevention. I think it's Braves, Mariners, so it's this exact order: Braves, Mariners, Marlins, Blue Jays, Giants, Rays, and then Dodgers, Yankees tied. Given how their offense projects to play next year, you imagine that they're going to be a pretty good team. Couple of concerns I have just off rip are obviously injuries. Like, how many innings will you get from Carlos Rodon next year? How many innings are you going to get from Nestor Cortez next year? How many innings are you going to get from Marcus Stroman next year? Clark Schmidt, all that stuff. What are some of the younger guys going to be able to do for them next year? There are some questions. Like, there are some legitimate questions that I think fans are going to be able to ask that the team is going to have to ask themselves. But if their scouting is good, and if this pans out for them, they look like geniuses. If it doesn't work out for them, this is like bad. Now their payroll's also above $300 million for the first time in the franchise history, I believe. So
that brings it to it, does it?
Yeah, this is just a weird. We're gonna have to see. Like this is a situation where the New York Yankees have, the Yankees have just a guy. They have a guy in their rotation. They have a controversial dude in the rotation. They have a dude who, quite honestly, I just don't know if he's going to pan out or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Bob Nightingale also reported that Marcus Stroman spoke face-to-face with Brian Cashman in Tampa, which I think is interesting. But yeah, the Yankees climb into the Yankees are probably going to be fine pitching wise. I think we need to add a reliever. Like I want to see if they can add Jordan Hicks, but I think the bullpen's kind of where they shift their focus now. What do you think, Aiden?
I think Jordan Hicks is out of the conversation now. I would hope Robert Stevenson is still in the conversation, but even now, like if their total payroll is now sitting at, Spotrac is saying it's projected to look like total tax allocations at 299 million. So they're just about there, but I can't see them adding on like Robert Stevenson for like what, $8 to $10 million. I can't even see that. So I don't know. I think maybe for the bullpen, you get a couple more like Flyers depth signings and they see what they can get out of these guys. And, Matt Blake pulls someone off the street and he's your seventh inning reliever to come July. But I think this is it. Like as far as like notable free agent signings, I think this is really the only one that the Yankees are going to be making this year. So I have questions because there's a 3rd-year vesting option. I wonder what incentives are there. I wonder if it's like an inning incentive, if it's a strikeout incentive, an ERA incentive. I'm really curious to see when those details come out. I don't know if they've come out already, but the thing about the Yankees, their rotation, to me, it feels like they have a very high ceiling, but the floor can be very low. I think the floor is very, very low too, and that's a problem to me. Like, okay, you know what you're going to get out of Garrett Cole. We seem to somewhat know what we're going to get out of Stroman. Rodon, he could be really good, or he could
Rodon's a big question mark now. Now Rodon needs to be that guy. Like there's no doubt about it. Rodon has to be that guy now. If he's not, things are gonna be fucking scary this year.
Yeah.
If he's not that guy, this looks bad.
That's what we've talked about, Ryan. Like you made your video. He's the X factor of this year. I tweeted out his stats. I think sometime last week over the past couple seasons. Like this guy has the potential to be very, very good. I don't think a guy is just going to regress as much as Rodon did. Like I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was last year. But if he's close to as bad as he was last year, then the Yankees are in deep trouble. But, I think, we're looking at like a 4.1, 4.2 ERA from Rodon, which isn't, that's not terrible, but that's not what you want out of how much you're paying him. But I think Rodon, like, I think the Yankees are still seeing him as their 2 pitcher. I think that's what it is. And I think they wanted to sign Yamamoto because they saw the, oh shit, with Rodon. Like they saw like, okay, this contract maybe isn't going to really work out very well. Like it's not going to work out how we thought it was going to work out. And signing Yamamoto would have taken that pressure not only off of the front office, but off of Rodon too. But, even with the addition of Stroman, Rodon is still your 2 starter. And my hope is that we can get Rodon over 145 innings this year. But with his injury history, that's a big, big question mark. But his stuff is still there. That's what keeps me going with Rodon. You just hope he figures out his location stuff. I expect a step from Clark Schmidt, to be honest with you. He gave us a lot of innings last year. I think we're going to see a lot of improvements from him. He was working out somewhere, wasn't he? Him and Clay Holmes were working out.
Maven Baseball Lab, which is where Spencer Strider's working out right now. That's where actually Clay Holmes, he's had a couple sessions there, although I think he's still a Tread Athletics guy. Now, Maven Baseball Lab, it's very much It's very much like the way I would compare it to is it's kind of like it is like a drive line situation where it's like it's a training facility, a lot of smart people there. Ultimately it's just like, dude, I don't like you kind of have like the Yankees are really saying like, look, we trust our internal development to figure out some of these guys' ruts and their issues and whatever it may be. And God forbid if they're wrong, and like God help them if they're wrong. Like if they're wrong, this is gonna look not great. But if they're right, this is gonna look sick for them. They're gonna be able to say, "Hey, we signed a good pitcher at $18.5 million." And look, I don't think that I think that we're looking at a player who ultimately is going to be able to do a lot of good for them in the rotation. Like I think there are some things that he does really well. I think there's some things that the Yankees can help him with. Like if he puts up. If he pitches like his 2022 self, that's a pretty solid. That's a pretty good 3-starter because that's like I think it's like in terms of ERA plus. Let me actually pull that up exactly. It's a 119 ERA plus. Like if you have a 119 ERA plus, that's a pretty good 3-starter, man. But that you're basically saying, hey, if you're this, that's when like if you're this good, like if you're able to be a pitcher you were a year ago, you'll be good enough. Even this year, 113 ERA plus, that'll work as a 3rd-starter, but the consistency, right? Like that's. You don't want him to just melt down in the second half. And then finally, again, like we talked about Rodon, Cortez is another big pitcher in this conversation as well. Like, what does Nestor Cortez do next year? Yeah. Is he a competent starting pitcher? Does he stay healthy? Like, is he good? Like, what? Right. Like how quickly will you have to go to your farm system? How quickly is Luke Weaver going to start making starts? How quickly is Cody Petit going to make a start? How quickly is Will Warren, right? Like guys like that. How quickly is that going to happen? Because if it happens in May or happens in April, not going to feel great. If it happens in like July or August, you're like, all right, that happens. But Yankees, they got to be sure, man. They got to be sure they're going to stay together. They got to be sure they stay together. And go ahead.
I think we're seeing Will Warren by like mid-May, honestly. It's an injury away.
We'll see.
And just, the Yankees track record with injuries, the trauma that's been induced on us, I feel like, an injury is bound to happen in the first month. Pitchers get hurt. That's just what happens. So I think we still see Will Warren by mid-May, and I think he's going to be good. I also think we see Chase Hampton at some point down the line, probably later in the year, I would think. But there's a lot of people that seem to think that, he's kind of ready, but I don't think the Yankees are quite there yet. But high ceiling, low floor. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's difficult because like I will say this, like you get a guy like Stroman, and you're basically signing him for about $1 million more than what you would have signed Montas for, and for 2 years, like I'm cool with that, or like I'm fine with that from a market value standpoint. But again, like the ceiling for Montas feels like it's a little bit higher. That doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same way when it comes to like Stroman, who it feels like it's more of a floor move. But end of the day, like the thing that he has going for him is, again, like he has a profile that the Yankees work well with. He has a profile that we should sit here and try to like we should sit here and ask ourselves like whether the Yankees are signing him because of desperation or if they're signing because they genuinely believe he's a good pitcher. If they're just signing him to say sign a pitcher, not great. If they sign him because they think they can actually get something out of him, fine, right? Like I will have to wait and see. But what will be interesting to see is who they trade. I believe their 40-man roster is full, so they have to move somebody or DFA somebody. I wouldn't be shocked if like Jeter Downs got DFA'd. No respect to Jeter Downs, but it's not like he's a right. Like it's not like he's, oh my God, you have to keep him, right? But yeah, ultimately, like this is just it's a confusing. This kind of happened fast too. A week ago, if you would have been like, "Yep, the Yankees are signing Marcus Stroman," be like, "Get the fuck out of here." And now it's like Marcus Stroman kind of felt inevitable at some point. Once Jack Curry started talking the way he was talking, I was like, "Yeah, this is happening." Right?
Yeah.
Let's see if he embraces the pitcher of the. Let's see if he embraces New York. Right? Like if he does that, we'll see. Let's start. Do you want to like? I'm gonna take a quick peek into the chat and see what's going on here.
Yeah, sure.
Yankee King does not like this deal, which, fair. Like I'm not gonna hate. Like it's not one of those situations where I'm gonna sit here and be like, guys, you have to trust the Yankees here. I'll be like, I get it. Like
I think it makes three of us.
Like I fucking get it. Yeah, like it's okay. It's whatever. It's fine. Right? No?
I guess. I guess. I don't know. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a weird. He is a weird, weird person to follow. He wants to be here. He will embrace the pressure of pitching in New York. I guess he
That's
did want to
something that
be here. Look, I will say this. There is that, like, I'm going to, like, say this right now. There is that outcome where, like, Marcus Stroman, like, actually, like, really, like, it just gels. Everything just kind of clicks for him. And he has that really good year. And, you know, again, it looks like one of the better pitching contracts in baseball. And the Yankees win the deal. And we're sitting here and saying, man, like, what a deal. What a job by the New York Yankees. XYZ, all that stuff. But there's also that outcome where it's like, all right, what if he just doesn't, like, what if he just busts, right? Like, if he busts, it's just so disastrous to think about. But if he pitches well, like, hard to, like, if he pitches well, the Yankees are going to be able to say they're geniuses because $18.5 million a year for 2 years is literally nothing, right? Like, it's literally nothing. But, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, Aiden, what is your confidence level that he's going to be a good enough pitcher next year? Now, I don't know what good enough looks like. Maybe that answer is different for you than it is for me. But what would you say your confidence level is in him as it stands right now, January 11th, 2024, 9:38 p.m. Go.
My confidence is that, like, I'm confident that he's going to be like an at least average pitcher, I think. And I think, you know, just we talked about his profile and you just look, it's kind of all over the place. And I kind of like that. Like, his usage is all over the place. There's so many different pitches. He's got his sinker, his slurve, his cutter, his four seamer. So, like, and then a split finger. I'm actually pretty interested in that split finger. I wonder if Matt Blake and, like, the Yankees see something in that split finger that they can maybe get something out of that, because that probably could generate a lot more ground balls. But yeah, I'm confident that he'll be an average pitcher. Like, I'm confident that, you know, he's still going to induce a lot of ground balls. You know, and that's obviously something you want in Yankee Stadium. And, you know, I think he's probably going to work on that cutter more now that he's with, you know, Matt Blake, because we know how much Matt Blake loves his cutters and loves adding cutters to pitchers' repertoires. Like, they just signed Luke Weaver as a depth starter, like, earlier today, and we saw that towards the end of the season he added a cutter, and that worked really well for him in the, you know, short sample size we saw. But the Yankees are constantly having their pitchers throw cutters, and, you know, he only used it 9.5% of the time next year. I think we could see that jump up to somewhere in the 20% range. He's going to be throwing that sinker, that cutter, and that slurve. And I would really hope to see a lot of that split finger too. So I like his profile. I do. I'm starting to think this isn't a desperation move for the Yankees. Like, I mean, it is in the sense that, okay, Yamamoto was their plan. That was their plan. And it kind of seemed like they didn't have much of a plan after that. But I think the reason, you know, it was reported that they had a deal. They offered a deal to Snell and it got rejected. It was like 5 years, $150 million. Mike Rodriguez reported that was rejected. So I think the Yankees were like, all right, we're not going above that. We don't want to give 6 years to Blake Snell. We like Marcus Stroman. We'll give him a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option. So I think they genuinely like him. I think they genuinely like his profile. And I genuinely think he's going to be an average pitcher at the very best. I think he's going to slot in as a very, very nice 3 starter.
I just, like, there's, like, I just think of the, like, I feel like I just, like, don't have like, I usually, it's like, holy shit, the Yankees are about to sign. Like, the Alex Verdugo trade, I remember feeling something. Like, I don't know what I would call that feeling. I don't know if I'd call that, I don't think that feeling was definitely not bliss, but it was certainly an emotion. I felt nothing after they signed Marcus Stroman. Like, nothing. I don't even know, man. Like, I felt legit, like, just felt nothing. I can't really, it's like, I don't know if that sounds effed up, but, like, yeah, I just didn't feel anything. Like, I just, like, don't know what people, I just don't know what to feel, man. Like,
Yeah,
it's
a weird feel. It really is.
How do we see, like, what am I going to say? Yeah, it is, like, he's obviously a good fit from, like, a pitching perspective, but, like, I don't know. But I will say this: by adding Marcus Stroman, they filled out the rotation. Um, and another big thing is that if the New York Yankees are able to end up, if the New York Yankees are able to win this deal, like, yeah, sure, we'll look back on this, and that's why I'm not gonna like make a judgment. I'm not gonna call it a good or a bad deal. I'm gonna wait and see how he pitches before I criticize or like celebrate the gain they made on the field. But yeah, like this is such a I really don't know. I really don't know what the Yankees. I don't really know what the feeling is for the Yankees at this point. You know what I mean? Gotta get a reliever, and then I think I can call this an A. Get a reliever. It has to be an A off season. Like, you got Soto. How can I really like be upset? Like, there's no like anger. It's just more like a sure, right? Like, it's more like a this is where we are. Like, we're talking about a guy who like actually fucking despises the Yankees. But it is what it is. Like, I'm not. It's not a like. It's not even like it's not like the team got worse. It's like the team, overpaid. It's like the team made a long-term commitment, short-term commitment. He stinks this year, kind of like in a sense, yeah, like kind of like Donaldson. If he stinks in year one, year two, can kind of look at ways to get moved away from him or put him in the bullpen or something. He's an expensive reliever at that point. I don't know, but right now, what is Snell's market is kind of another question here too, right?
Yeah,
like what is
interesting. Like, I wonder if that.
I don't know what they're gonna do, man. I don't know what the Snell's gonna do.
I wonder if that 5-year deal that the Yankees offered to Snell, like, I wonder if that's potentially still on the table for him, but I doubt it because, like, what's his market? Like, are the Mariners in on him? Are the Giants still in on him? I genuinely don't know who's gonna, because apparently he wants $200 million. I genuinely don't know who's going to give him that. Like, I seriously do not. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like at this point, like this was supposed to be more of a live, but like I'm not gonna lie, it's just kind of turned into us talking about the Yankees and just like what the fuck? Like, Stroman's a Yankee. Weird feeling. Weird feeling. Aiden, I don't know if you have any more thoughts. Like, it's just kind of like we signed Marcus Stroman. That's where we're at.
I just like, I guess, as I always do, it's just how do I talk myself into this edition? And, you talked about, okay, is this an A off season? I think it's an A off season in the sense that just looking at the roster now, it looks a lot different than last year. And I think that's good. And that's especially like,
yeah.
You have new rookies on the roster now. You have Austin Wells. You'll get Dominguez back at some point. You got Verdugo and Grisham. You, of course, got Soto. All new outfielders. And that was a huge problem for the Yankees. I guess people would have liked to see some kind of notable addition to the infield, but I don't really think that was ever on the table for the Yankees. I think they like want to see what they have in Peraza, but Stroman very much feels like a consolation prize, like a really kind of bad taste consolation prize to Yamamoto. It's not a bad addition, but it's not great either. I think it's just good, and it doesn't exactly move the needle, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps. The Yankees rotation just got better. You're not having Clayton Beater or Will Warren making a bunch of starts next year now, which is, I guess that's a good thing. But, I would have liked to see Will Warren get his shot. Just last thoughts on Stroman, I guess. Like the profile. I like that there's a high ceiling here for him. I think maybe the Yankees think they could get something out of him. And what I like the most is that just seeing his Instagram story over the past hour or so, he seems to want to pinstripes. Like he posted that picture of him as a kid in a Yankees hoodie. He posted a jersey swap, which was basically told us that's when we started scrambling to get all this stuff out, to get the news out. We were like, all right, we're going live for this. But, seems like he wants to be a Yankee. He put on his story too, I'm a New York Yankee, period. Seems like he wants the pinstripes. And, that's what you want on the Yankees. That's what you want on your team. You want guys who want to be here. I think he can handle the New York market. At the same time, maybe he can't, but I think he's prepared for it. And Yeah, this isn't an awful addition.
This is what I'll say. This is an interesting question. I think we'll end it on this. Would we rather overpay for Snell or take Stroman for what we got him for? I would have taken Stroman at this price point over Snell over $200 million. And I'll also say this, I think the Yankees paid fair value. It's not a steal. It's fair value. They paid fair value for fair value for Marcus Stroman. If he is the pitcher he was the last 2 years, it'll be worth it. And that's really it. We'll have to see how he adjusts. I'm very interested to see that availability session. And if I'm there, it'll be funny because he has me blocked on Twitter. So don't know if he'll be taking any questions from me. But yeah, I don't know if he'll be taking any questions from me. But with that being said, we're gonna wrap up here, guys. I know we didn't get to take a lot of questions, but those kind of on the fly. And I know I have to go change a video that I was gonna put out tomorrow morning. We'll check. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. We'll have something out for you guys. But with that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out our YouTube channel and our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Empire Sports Beat is where we have our written content. We appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll have you guys with updates tomorrow. And have a good rest of your night, guys. And Marcus Stroman, he's a New York Yankee.